students. In this video, let us start the lesson, the poem Water. Now, as a pre-reading activity, we have to go through these. So the first thing is we have to discuss with our friends and answer these questions. Let's go through these three ABC questions one by one. So the first question is, from where do you get water to your house? So every day morning when you wake up, either you start by drinking a glass of water or washing your face, taking a shower, bathing. Okay, so throughout the day, you have a lot of activities in your houses which require water. Where does this water come from? Have you thought about it? So you may tell me that whatever water you need, you get from the taps in your house. But where does the water come to the taps from? So if you think about it, you may observe that there may be a tank in your house, either in the top of your house or underground. And the water to these is supplied according to wherever the nearest local water supply is. So in some cases, houses get waters directly from dams or tankers, or in some other cases, you may even have channels that come from flowing rivers. So that is where you get water from. So the next question is related. Name some rivers. So let's start by naming some rivers around us. You can think, pause the video and think, but let me just give you some river names. We have Kaveri, Godavari, Ganga, Krishna, etc. So these are the names of various rivers in India. Next, how can we keep rivers and tanks clean? So to answer this, let's think about it for a little while. So the first thing that we can do is we can avoid throwing any waste into the river. So this can be solid or industrial waste. We need to avoid throwing them into the rivers. Next, we need to avoid any oil spillage near lakes and rivers. So you may have read in several news articles that whenever there's an oil spillage that happens near any river or the ocean, it's very harmful for the life in the rivers or the oceans. So let's do our part in preventing any oil spillage. This includes avoiding taking your vehicles near the river and making sure that your vehicles are not leaking any kind of oils. So what else can we do to keep our rivers and tankers clean? So the vegetation means any plants, algae, etc. around rivers. It helps in keeping the rivers clean. Okay, so we must protect any kind of vegetation around the rivers and lakes. So these are some of the things that we can do to keep the rivers and tanks clean. As you can see here, these two people, they haven't gone right into the source of the river to clean themselves. When you do that, the river will get dirtied, be it with the soap or with the impurities. So it's best to avoid throwing any impurities or wastage into the rivers and lakes. Let's move on. Let's read the poem Water. Water has no taste at all. Water has no smell. Water's in the waterfall, in pump, tap, and well. Water's everywhere about, water's in the rain, in the bath, the pond, and out at the sea, it's there again. Water comes into my eyes and down my cheek in tears when mother cries, go back and try to wash behind those ears. This poem is written by John R. Crossland. Let's go through it line by line. So it's a very simple poem. What the poet is trying to say is he is describing water. So water doesn't have any taste or smell. And where is water found? Water can be found in waterfalls, in pumps, taps, and wells. Next, the poet is saying, water is about everywhere. Where and all water is there? So, water is in the rain, it's in the bath, the pond, and at sea. It's out there again. So, in the seas and oceans, we can have water. But what is the difference between water in the rain and water in rivers and water in the sea and oceans? So, there are two kinds of waters that are found naturally on our earth. One is salty water and one is sweet or fresh water. So, only fresh water can be used for our day to day purposes, including drinking and cooking. So, the water, majority of the water that is found in the oceans and sea, it's salty. Let's get back to the poem. Water comes into my eyes and down my cheek in tears. Whenever we cry, water comes from our eyes. Why is the poet crying? It's because his mother has demanded for him to go and wash behind those ears. So, what is happening in this poem is the poet has just taken a shower or bath and has come out. But his mother checks and she finds that behind the poet's ears it's still dirty. So, mother says, okay, you haven't washed yourself properly, so go back into the bathroom and wash it and come back. So, the poet is annoyed and sad, which is why he is crying. That is the meaning of the poem. Let's go through the glossary. So, cry is here. When mother cries, she isn't tearing up and crying. Cries can also mean shouts. Okay. Next, let's go over here. Talk with your friend beside you about the following. So, you need to discuss this with your classmates. First point is, what are the main ideas in the first stanza? Similarly, the questions vary from second and third stanza also. All you need to do is go through them, read them line by line, and try to understand what the poet is saying. You can go back and hear the explanation I've just given once again if you have any doubts. Next, the last one is enjoy reciting the poem. So, whenever you're trying to learn a poem, it's best if you do it out loud. Just hold your textbook in your hand and read it out loud before you're confident that you know what the poem is talking about. We have the questions about which we were just discussing. Find out how much drinking water is available. So they've missed the L here. Available on the earth. So when you think about it, whenever you take a look at image of the earth, you can see that a large portion of it is covered with water, right? Then how much percentage do you think that drinking water is available to us? So, of the surface of the earth, we have more than 70% that is covered by water. But of that, only about 3% of the earth's water is fresh water. The remaining is salty water. And in that 3% also, it's not completely available to us. Only 1.2% is available for us for drinking. The rest is locked up in glaciers, ice cap, etc., or as underground water. So, this is one of the reasons why we need to use water judiciously. Okay, next, how is the sea water different from the pond water? So, we have just discussed this. So, I'm going to leave the explanation to you, but think about how the seawater is salty, whereas pond water is fresh. Next, we have comprehension. Write down in the blanks given below the pace of rhyming words in the poem. So, we have an example, all and fall. Let's go back. We can also have smell and well. Okay, let's copy that down here. Let me put this here. So we have smell and well, right? Next one, we can go in any order. Okay, so tears and years. Another one is rain and again. Okay, so let's just copy them down here. So basically, whenever you have a rhyming poem, all the last words are usually rhyming. This can be either, for example, in some poems, two consecutive lines will have rhyming words, whereas in some, like this, alternative lines are rhyming. Okay, so what were the words that we discussed? We have tears and years, right? And what else? We have rain and again, out and about, etc. So let me just write one and leave the rest to you. Tears and years. Okay, let's move on to vocabulary. Match the words on the left with their description on the right. So this is fairly easy. Everything is related to water. Let's see how much we can guess. So rain. Rain is nothing but the water that comes from the clouds. Next, let me see if you can see this. Let me increase the size for you. So rain is nothing but water that comes from the clouds. Maybe that's too big. Okay. Next we have a well. So well, it has water that is collected underground. Okay. Has water from an underground source. Next, ponds. So I think we can match this to here. Rainwater gets collected here. Sea. Sea has salt and many minerals. Waterfall. Waterfall, water comes in a rush over the rocks. Tears flow from the eyes. So for you to avoid any confusion, maybe I'll just say it once again. Rain is water that comes from the clouds. Well has water from an underground source. Pond has rainwater gets collected there. Sea has salt and many minerals. Waterfall, water comes in a rush over rocks, and tears flows from the eyes. Next, where can we see water? Match the words and pictures that are given below by drawing lines connecting them. Okay, it's the same as the following, except you have to do with picture. Okay, so let's try to do this. So let's start with tears. So we have tears over there in the top. Let me just match it for you like that. Next we have well. So which is well? Well is this picture. Okay. Next, pond. So we have an image of the pond here. Sometimes you may get confused between ponds and lakes, but the differentiation is that pond is slightly smaller than lake. Okay. Next we have a sea over here. Let's see. The first one is the image of the sea. And we have tap. So this must be very easy for you because it's pictures. Okay. So the waterfall is already done for us. The only one remaining is rainwater. So let's map rainwater to the clouds and rain. Okay. So that is the end of Unit 1. I will see you all in the next video when we start Unit 2.